Being in an NFL locker room and also being around NFL owners, you kind of see some things that are just different. And a lot of things that I picked up were things that I can't really talk about, but also there are other things that I can talk about. And the things that I can talk about, I actually want you to be able to use the things. Because look, I'll be honest with you, if certain things can be used in the negative, and that's what I saw a lot of times, then at the same time, these very things can be used in the positive because look, there's a law of polarity that happens within this three-dimensional world. So I want to tell you about some of the things that I saw in the NFL, and I'm gonna call this particular topic the eye of the vortex, and you'll get to it why, but here's the thing. So in the NFL, let me peer back behind the curtain and let you see the inner workings of what happens to some of the players and even some of the owners. Now, I have spoken with a lot of the owners in the past. I've met with them in the past, and their thought processes and their trains of thought and the way they did things is literally different than 99% of people that ever lived. I like to say it like this: if you want to be the top 1%, just do the opposite of what 99% of people do, and you're automatically in there. But I'm gonna tell you what one particular player that intrigued me more than anybody, more than any superstar that I played with or against. But this one guy, he wasn't a superstar, but he had a superstar mentality. And he did some of the things that I saw some of the superstars do, but he just wasn't the biggest, strongest dude. But he always seemed to have a way to make it on a team every year. He didn't have the stats. He didn't have the record, but he was always on a team, and it didn't even make sense why. So this dude, this particular guy, every single day, he would be the first one in the building. Now, usually when people are there that early, they like to get their workouts in, to get their stretches in, all the above. This dude didn't do any of that. What he would do was he would sit in a very specific chair. He would close his eyes and he put his hands in these weird positions. And this is what he would do. For an hour, sometimes more, all he would do was breathe. Just like that. And he did this for hours. So he wasn't asleep, but he was in almost this meditative trance. And it just used to fascinate me how he could control himself for that long, to breathe for that long. And so me and him became actually really good friends. And one off season, he got cut from the team. And he calls me, he says, look, man, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen this year. He said, I'm gonna get signed by a team. I'm gonna get cut by that team. And then I'm gonna get signed by another team and play in London. Because he really wanted to play in London. That was his thing. And I saw him write it down in this book. Now, he had this journal that he kept, and it had all these different weird shapes and writings and notes, like from stuff that I've never even seen before. So I saw his notepad. I saw what he wrote down, and he had hundreds of pages of all the things that he wanted to happen in his life. And so some of the things that he wrote down were things that he checked off that has already happened. And then other things were things that he wanted to happen. So this one, he wrote it down. And he said, it's already done. So in his head, he already had it as if it was already done. Now check this out. This is crazy. So one day before training camp, the dude gets signed to the Buffalo Bills. And he calls me. He says, Flu, I told you, I'm already on the team. I got cut by that team, and now I'm going to play in London. He's like, in his mind, it was already there. So he goes through training camp. Last preseason game, he gets cut from the team. So I called him. I was like, bro, you good? He was like, what do you mean, am I good? He said, I already told you I got signed by a team, cut by a team, and I'm playing in London. I'm good. Listen, the next day after he got cut by the team, the Buffalo Bills called him back. They said, hey, it's been a mistake. We didn't mean to cut you from the team. We cut the wrong guy, which was you, but we want to bring you back. Listen, I'll tell you, in the NFL, that never happens. You never get signed by a team that cuts you like the next day, especially after training camp. Like, this is final roster cuts. So they bring him back. He calls me. He says, Flu, I'm back in the Bills. I was like, bro, that's crazy. So listen to this. 2 weeks later, the Bills are playing in London. Now, that week, they cut him from the team. So I called him. I was like, bro, you good? He was like, what do you mean I'm good? He said, of course I'm good. I got signed by a team, got cut by a team, and I'm playing in London. Of course I'm good. I'm like, bro, you just got cut from the team, and they play in London this week. He was like, bro, I'm good. 2 weeks later, he gets a call. Guy gets hurt. He goes on the team, gets a call. He calls me. He says, hey, Flu, I'm back on the team. And he said, guess where we play next week? And of course, played in London. And it was just so fascinating to see the level of confidence that he had, not so much in his playing ability, but in his ability to play the game right here. And some of the things he showed me were fascinating, and it's actually going to be called the eye of the vortex, what I talked about. And if you haven't figured out by now who that particular player was, that player was me. And so over the past 12 years, actually even longer than that, since I've been playing in the NFL and even before, I've been studying this stuff every single day. And today I want to teach you one of the most important and impactful things that you could ever learn to be able to change your life and manipulate your life the same way I did with my life. So let's get started. So anyway, we got to talk about what was in that particular notebook that I have and I still have. And one day I'll show it to you when you guys are ready. But in that notebook, there are just notes of things that I learned over the course of my NFL career, over the course of my spiritual and metaphysical journey. And this one, I'll use blue. This one actually may be one of the most important, and it's a concept that I learned from Nikola Tesla. If you don't know who Nikola Tesla is, he's one of the most famous inventors of all time. He's actually one of my heroes. Anything that pertains to electricity, modern day electricity, he is the father of it. Now, Nikola Tesla had an issue with Thomas Edison. They were beefing back in the day because Nikola Tesla had a certain way of conducting electricity. Edison had another way. Now, Tesla's way was way safer, but Edison tried to really discredit this guy. And see, Edison had the money. So Edison was a businessman who could invent. Nikola Tesla was just an inventor. So it's a crazy story. To prove that Nikola Tesla's ways were wrong, Thomas Edison electrocuted an elephant in like the middle of Chicago and saying, this is what can happen when you use, I believe it was alternating currents. Like it's crazy. But Nikola Tesla, again, one of my heroes, he talks about things from a perspective that was not necessarily normal from an inventor's standpoint. Like an inventor would go and draw things up and then try to test his methods. Well, Nikola Tesla never drew things up. He only drew it up in his own imagination and his mind. And Nikola Tesla said something that is very, very profound that most people don't really understand. But he says, if you understand the mystery of the 3, the 6, and the 9, you have a key to the universe. Now, today, I'm going to take you to math class. And today we're going to talk about vortex-based mathematics. Let me write this down. It's a little wet up there. There you go. So it's vortex-based math. Now, so that's why I said the eye of the vortex, because I really want you to get this. Now, vortex math is very, very complex, but I'm going to make it really simplified. Like I said, Nikola Tesla says if you understand the 3, 6, 9, you get a key to the universe. Now, what does that actually mean? So I got to explain something to you. In vortex-based mathematics, the most important numbers are 3, 6, and 9. And what they make is a triangle. So if you even look in my, some of my lectures and my study guides, I always say join the inner triangle, not the inner circle, the inner triangle, and you can get my newsletter and all that. So, but the 3, 6, and the 9, these are super, super important because literally this right here is how you create anything here in life. And I really mean that. So these numbers, what they represent different aspects of self. So the 9 is the king, or I call her the queen. The 9 is the queen of all numbers. The 3 is the spirit. And the 6 is the material. Okay, so we have the queen, which is the mental. The 3, which is the spirit. And the 6, which is the material. Now, I know most people will be like, well, why wouldn't the spirit be the king or the queen? Right? Like, because here's the thing, everything actually comes from the spiritual side of things. But let me not get ahead of myself. So let's talk about this. So you live on 3 simultaneous planes of existence. I talk about this all the time, but I have to talk about it. You live on the spiritual, you live on the mental, and you live on the material. All right, so spirituality, mentality, and materiality. That's how I define it. So we're going to use the material as the 6, that's the number of man, use the spiritual as the 3, and we use the mental as the 9. This is the most important one to you right now. Now, everything flows from the 3, believe it or not. So your spiritual side of things is the thing that creates everything. We all know that the things have been created, the things that you see are actually built out of things that are unseen. And somebody perfectly corrected me the other day, and I said, you can see an atom under a microscope, but really an atom is invisible. You cannot see an atom under a microscope. So therefore, I call atoms spiritualized building blocks. Basically, the spiritual side of things is the wave aspects of things, okay? So that's the wave. The material side of things is the particle aspect of things, right? The materialized things. But the mental aspect of things is where we have to get to. So what is it about these 3, 6, and 9 that's super important though? Let me go ahead and tell you. So the 3, this is what I love about math, and this is what a lot of the elites understand, and I'm gonna give it to you so that you can change your life and not have them manipulate your life. So here's the thing. So the 3 is, let's go 3 times 1. That equals 3, right? 3 times 2 equals 6. All right, so we got 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 equals 9. All right, so 9. So what is 3 times 4? Equals 12, which equals 1 plus 2, which equals 3. So it always breaks back down to 3, 6, and 9. So it rotates counterclockwise if we're going in terms of a flow. So when you talk about the 3, the spiritual aspect of things, the spiritual aspect of things works counterclockwise or works opposite of how the physical things work. And this is super important to know because a lot of us are trying to use our 6, our material side of things, our body, everything that we have physically to get the job done in life. But realistically, it is the 3, it is the spiritual aspect of things that really is the source of the physical aspect of things. So if I do 3 times 5, right? Which equals 15, and then 1 plus 5 equals what? Equals 6. So it always goes counterclockwise. In infinite, you can do this infinite times, and it'll always break down into going into counterclockwise or opposite of how materiality goes. Now let's take this wonderful 6. And we can't forget about the 6. Because the 6 is just as important in terms of as you are in this human body as the 3, because you have to have the 6, right, as a reflection of the 3. So let's do 6 times 1, and that equals 6, right? 6 times 2 equals 12, which is 1 plus 3, which equals what? 1 plus 2, which equals 3. And then 6 times 3 equals 18, and then 1 plus 8 is 9. 6 times 4, right, which equals 24. 2 plus 4 is 6. So you see, this goes, the 6, or the material side of things, goes clockwise. Does it make sense? So the material side of things, and it only makes sense because when you do things from a material standpoint, it has to go in flow with how materiality works. Time, space, matter equals materiality. So time, it goes clockwise. So the 3, the spiritual aspect of things, right, goes counterclockwise. The physical or material aspect of things goes clockwise. Just hang with me. I promise you'll get something from this. Now, let's talk about this wonderful 9, which is your mental side of your mentality. And this is where it gets good. I call her the queen of all numbers. You can call it the king, whatever you want to call it. I call her the queen of all numbers. Now, the 9 always stays the same. The 9 is the balancing act between these two, okay? The mental side. So you have to use your mind to balance both the spiritual and the physical. See, the spiritual, being so focused only on the spiritual doesn't work because you can't particleize things from wave into particle. But being so focused on the physical side definitely doesn't work. Why? Because you're trying to use particle to change particle, and that ain't how things work. So you have to use the mental side of things. Now, let's go with this 9. Oh, again, this is so beautiful. This is why I love numbers. 9 times 1 equals 9. 9 times 2 equals 18. What's 1 plus 8? 9. 9 times 3 equals 27. What's 2 plus 7? 9. 9 times 4, what's that? 36, 3 plus 6, 9. So you can go on through infinity. It'll always, always, always break back down into 9. So what all this really means, and this is what I got to get you to understand. All this really means is that if you don't use your mental aspect of things to balance the 3 and the 6, your life will be out of balance. And see, that's what I have learned over the past 12 years. That's what I did when I was playing in the NFL. Even though physically, look, I remember playing with a certain individual, his name, Julius Peppers. Now, Pep was a different species of human. I remember working out with Pep one day. We're doing dumbbell rows, all right? I'm pretty strong, man. I'm a 290-pound defensive tackle player for the Chicago Bears at the time. I got some hundreds. I'm sitting there rowing. This dude walks straight up to the 150s and starts picking them up like it's a paperweight. And as he's doing these rows, and I'm just fascinated watching this dude row 150, he turns and talks to me. He says, "Hey, Flu, man, bro, I need to lose some weight." And so in my head, I'm thinking like, hey, all right, what do you want to get down to? I asked him like, what, you want to get down to about 260, 255? You know, I knew he was a big dude. And this is what he says. He says, man, I need to get somewhere under 300. And I was like, wait, what? You are 300 pounds? Like, he was one of the 5 fastest people on the team, 300 pounds. So therefore, I had to compete with that level of 6. Now, here's the other thing about Julius Peppers too. He really focused on his 3 as well. And why was he able to do that? Because he was so in control of his 9, his mental side of things. So what does this mean for you? Because look, at the end of the day, I don't care about anything else but you being able to change your life and drastically make it work out in your favor. Look, I'm just taking all the things that I learned in the NFL and that I learned from people who you don't really get to see and get access through. Now I'm giving you access into how they think and how they operate, how owners operate, how all this works. I want you to change your life. So all I want you to do every single day is I want you to work on conditioning your 9, your mental side of thing. How do you do this? All right, so let me teach you, and I'm gonna give you one of my inner teachings. And I usually don't give this, but this is one of my inner teachings. And I'm feeling in one of my good moods tonight. So I'm gonna give you one of my real inner teachings. And I usually keep this for my coaching clients, but I like you guys. I'm in a good mood tonight. I really am. So here's the deal. All right. So if you want to know one thing, that you're probably watching this right now, this video right now, if you're seeing this, and it's really because 1, it's either meant for you, or 2, it's because of the algorithm. Okay? It's because of the algorithm. So it's either meant for you or it's because of the algorithm. And guess what? They actually both mean the same thing. Now, I'm gonna go through something called, let me see if anybody understands what this is. All right, if you're a computer nerd or a geek like I am, you probably understand what this means right here. So this right here, and I'll explain it to you, this is binary code. Now, if you understand something about computers and about coding, you know that computers can only hear 2 things. They can only hear 1 and 0. Every program, even the fact that you're watching this right now, either on a YouTube app or wherever you're watching it, is actually the program, the platform, the application is really just a system of 1s and 0s, okay? Now, so if it's a system of 1s and 0s, it is this binary code that creates a program which creates an experience, or I call it a UI, a user interface or a user experience, okay? So that's how this thing works. So if you want to understand what binary code is, so let's think about it like this. So let's take 1, all right, this 1 right here. So let's take 1. So if 1, let's say it equals yes. So if 1 equals yes, then 0 naturally equals No, right? So like we got 1, 0, yes, 0, no, right? Wrong. If 1 equals yes, then 0 equals nothing. Now this is super important to understand. So it's not yes and no, it's yes and nothing, because the opposite of 1 is -1. Okay, so this would be no. That's how it would be if we're talking binary code. It'd be 1 and -1, but that's not it. It is yes and nothing, not yes and no. Now, please, please, please understand this. This is super important because just like YouTube is based upon an algorithm, life itself is actually based upon an algorithm. And an algorithm, in terms of computers, is based on your interactions. And the algorithm of life, so I'll call it the AOL, algorithm of life. If you old school people know is not numerical online. So the algorithm of life is based upon your inner actions. And as I always say, take notes, leave them in the comments, please, because I'm saying some things that I don't even know that I'm saying right now. All right, so interactions. Now, the reason, if you go on Instagram and whatever's on your explore page, whatever you've been looking at, I see you. Well, that's on your explore page because of your interactions with the application. And so what happens is how you interact with the algorithm or with the application depends on what the application will throw in your face. Remember that. How you interact with the application will determine what the algorithm throws in your face. Life works the same way. How you interact with the algorithm of life depends on, it will determine what life will throw in your face. And so sometimes if it feels like in your life that things keep coming up, you're like, why does this keep happening? Why do I keep taking 2 steps forward and 4 steps back? What is going on? Why does my health not get better? I'm telling you, it is mainly because of your inner actions. So what does binary code have to do with this? Remember I told you that this is yes and nothing, not yes and no. Now, I'll tell you. So me and my wife, we have a physical therapy clinic. And we treat sometimes some older people. So I have a patient of ours. I'll call him Mr. S. Mr. S is, let me erase some of this. Mr. S is 89 years young. Mr. S has no issues at all, health-wise, except for one. His knees are healthy, no arthritis, no back pain, no nothing. But he's as sharp as a tack, but has a thing called COPD. Now, if you want to know what COPD is a lung condition, is a breathing condition where it literally feels like every time he takes a breath, somebody lit a match inside of his lungs. That's what COPD is. So Mr. S has COPD. Now, how do you think Mr. S got COPD? Well, Mr. S, like I said, was 89 years young, started smoking cigarettes at the tender age of 12 years old, because that was the thing to do back then. And because of all those years of cigarettes, he quit a few years ago, more power to him, because of the COPD. Because of all those cigarettes, he ended up with COPD. Now let's break this thing down binary-wise. So COPD is actually a user experience. It's not a thing in itself. It's a reflection of a thing. It's a reflection of a code. So let's say the first time Mr. S smoked a cigarette. Now, if any of you ever smoked a cigarette or smoked anything, whatever it is you smoke, doesn't matter to me. But if you ever smoked a cigarette, you remember the first time that you smoked a cigarette or the first time that you tasted some beer? That was the most disgusting thing that you have ever done. And the first time that you smoked a cigarette or drank a beer, you said, I will never do this again. I remember the first time I had a beer, I was at my parents. They had a little house party and my crazy uncle left his can of beer beside the couch. I'm thinking it's a Coca-Cola Classic. I did not know what a Budweiser was back then. I drank that thing and I literally thought my tongue was going to fall out of my mouth. So that was my first experience with beer. Now, when you have that first experience, Mr. S, the first experience that he had smoking a cigarette, it registered in the code as a 0. It's a nothing. I never do that again. Nothing. The next time he smoked a cigarette, he's with his boys, he's with his friends, it's a 0. Never do that again. The next time he smokes a cigarette, he gets a little buzz. 1. Now we're starting to develop a program based upon the code. Next time he smokes a cigarette, he goes and kisses his girlfriend. His girlfriend says, sweetie, I will never kiss you again if you smoke another cigarette. So guess what? 0. But then he sneaks with his homeboys again. He's a 1. And then it's a 0. And then it's a 1, and a 1, and a 1, and a 0. 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1. We have started a code. And this code led to a program, which is COPD. Or that's the program, excuse me. So I'll call this the program. I misspoke earlier. And what is the user experience of COPD? P-A-I-N. Pain. And that is the algorithm of life. So life is based upon not your interactions, but your interactions. But here's where it gets really good. Because look, I told you, I want you to change your life. I want Mr. S to change his life. Even at the age of 89 years young, it doesn't matter to me. He can still change. So how do we hack this algorithm? Because I want you to be life hackers. I really do. And if you can become a life hacker, then you don't have to live with the user experiences of pain or whatever else that you don't want. You can live with the user experience of what you do want. So let me teach you how to hack the algorithm, how to hack the code. So remember, I told you that it's based upon your interactions, right? So if you watch my Life is Rigged video or the NFL is Rigged video, if you're here from that, thank you very much. But it's based upon your interactions. And I always say that there are 3 key interactions that we can take every single day. Meditation, which simply means, if you haven't heard me say this before, which simply means coming from a Greek word meditare, which just means to focus your thoughts. Okay? So it means focus thought. The second thing is affirmations and visualization. I'll be honest, most of the videos that you'll ever hear from me is going to talk about these 3 things. I'm not here to prove how smart I am. I'm here to give you things that will change and help direct your life the way that you want to direct it. I'm trying to get you to hack your life. And if I have to say this thing 1,000,000 times, I'll say it 1,000,000 times because I really want you to have this. Okay, so affirmations, all right, are spoken or heard words. And visualization is to make a mental movie. All right, so that's my definition. Focused thoughts, meditation. The second thing is affirmations. Remember, in the word affirmations, there is the word firm, okay? So the word firm is inside of affirmation. These affirmations are the words that you hear or the words that you speak that are supposed to make your meditation firm. That's the purpose of an affirmation. It is not just to sit in the mirror and just saying, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. Look. If you have a positive meditation and a negative affirmation, they will cancel each other out every single time. That's why affirmations haven't been working for you, because they are making nothing firm. And that's the power of the spoken word. As you have spoken, let it be done unto you. All right. If you say unto this mountain, be removed and thrown into the sea, it shall obey you if you don't have doubt in your heart. How in the world can you not have doubt? The only way to not have doubt is to have a positive meditation and a positive affirmation. That's the only way. And then the last thing is visualization, to make a mental movie of what you've been meditating and affirming. So visualization is a mental movie of your focused thoughts and your spoken or heard words. That's why if you see me, usually over the course of a day, I always have a pair of headphones in. What am I doing? I am literally, I'll use the word baptized. I am baptizing my mind, my ears, right? To make firm whatever it is that I'm focusing my thoughts on. Like right now, my focused thought, in my imagination. I tell you about this $500 challenge that I have. Okay, I've seen this thing work up like so many times. I am right now on a $500,000 challenge. Okay, to where my meditation, I'm focusing my thoughts that I already have $500,000. I make affirmations. I say it and I speak it in line to make this firm. I have $500,000 to play with. And then I make a visualization, a mental movie of me taking me and my homeboys to Rathbun Steakhouse with my extra $500,000 and me paying for their meal. This is what I do every single day. And then what? That's the visualization. That's the mental movie. But what does this have to do with binary code? Listen, every time you do one of these, a meditation, affirmation, visualization, just like Mr. S's COPD, sometimes they don't register. You might meditate, it registers as a 0. You might affirm, 0. You might visualize, 0. You might meditate, 0. You might affirm, 0. You might visualize, 1. You might meditate, 0. You might affirm, 1. You might visualize, 0. See, the program or the binary code, you're not just trying to get all ones. That's the beautiful part about this. You're not trying to get all ones, right? It's not the code. That's not what you want. The code is so beautiful because it's a blend of ones and zeros. Listen to me. It's ones and zeros because why? Let's go back. Because you're using your 9, right? It registers as a 3 sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't register. It's a 0. So we'll call this a 1. We'll call this I know it's weird. We'll call this a 0, right? We'll call this a 0, but you have to use your mentality to either get one of these to work. And this is how you hack your life. So you use your 9, you use your mind, mentality, right? To every time you meditate, affirm, visualize, it may register as a 1 in the spiritual realm. Okay, it may register as a 0 in the physical realm. So that means you still might have to do some physical work. Of course you do. That's the whole beauty of this thing. You have to put in physical effort here as well. But the thing is, your 9 should be the source of your physical effort, not the physical effort be the source of everything you want to have in life. And this is why most of you and most of us have missed it. This is why I missed it for a lot of times, even in the NFL or even prior to that, because I had no idea. I was only focused on working hard and trying to use materiality to change materiality, trying to use the particle to change the particle, and you literally can't do that. Like, yes, you can get some results from it, but why not use 100% of what you have? Why only use 33% of what you have? You can use everything that you have, but you got to understand how to use the mental side of life. Got to understand how to use your 9. So every time you meditate, affirm, and visualize, don't worry about if it registers as a 0 or a 1. It takes a combination of both to be able to do that, to be able to create the life of your dreams. My 500 grand, all right, in my Lambo, which I looked at today, in my Lambo, it is not just right here in the spiritual. It's not just right here in the physical. But if I can use my mentality to move my body, right, and if I can get my mentality to meditate, affirm, and visualize, then guess what? It has to show up. Why do you think I make these videos? This is me using my mentality to condition my body, my materiality to make videos. And here's the thing. How did I have a video go viral? How do I go from 70 subscribers to 2,000 something subscribers in 2 days? Well, that's because when you hit the spiritual side of things, it defies rationality. It does not make sense for a person like me with no followers, makes like 12 videos and goes from 78 subscribers to 2,000 something subscribers pretty much overnight. That doesn't make sense. Well, why? Because spirituality defies rationality. And when you can use your 3 and your 6 in combination with each other, miracles have to happen. And this is how you get into the eye of the vortex.